Hello, people, and welcome back to All For United with your host, Usman Akhtar. I know you guys have been wanting this panel, and we have delivered the exact same panel. No, it's not Jack Grealish FC, but it is the topic, which, of course, is the greatest striker to ever play for Manchester United. And as Barry asked prior to the start of the show, no, Jesse Lingard is not part of that. Sadly, we'll wait for the midfield episode. I'm sure Jesse Lingard will be the first person on everyone's lips. Anyways, the way it's going to work is the guys have to state their claim for one of the players, and they cannot choose a player that has already been mentioned. We haven't actually gone through who's going first, second, or third. I thought it'd be funnier to do it live on air just to stitch everyone up. So basically, the way I've done it, the way I've done it is I've thought of a number between 1 and 20. So it's as simple as that. Whoever's closest to number is first, whoever's second closest is second. Obviously, the last person is in last. Just before we do that, just want to join and invite my guests. We have got Neil, Joe, and Barry. Boys, how are we doing?
Woo!
Excellent.
Yes.
Unreal.
Happy to have you guys back. Okay, so lads, I've got a number. Neil, know what? We'll let you choose first. I'm stuttering over my words. I've been kind of flustered with what they've exposed. They've exposed me prior to the start of the show, so I'm a bit flustered. I apologize. Anyways, Neil, you can go first, mate. What number are you going for? 1 between 20.
13.
Okay. Lucky number 13. Joe, who are you going for?
Considering the position we're going for, I'm going for number 10.
Okay.
No, number 10, I'd say.
I've just, lads, I'm so sorry. I've just realized I've got the wrong branding on as well, so I do apologize. Just ignore the fact that I've got Joe's. Oh my God, I've had an absolute mess. I've just come back from work.
Usman, put a couple of blocks of ice in it before you just dilute it down a bit before the show.
Yeah, honest to God, I've had an absolute mess. I do apologize to everyone watching it. Anyways, Barry, who are you going for? So we've got 10 and 13. What number are you going for?
I'll play it safe. I'll go for number 11.
Ooh, that's a bit cheeky.
So I can confirm that the correct number was 17. So that would be Neil's first, Barry second, and Joe.
Bollocks. I was going to say 17.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like I said, I do apologize, but the branding is completely the wrong one. Let me see if I can change it. Anyways, let's get straight into it. Get your comments in the chat. Let us know who you think is the best striker to ever play for this fantastic club. And also make sure you drop a like and subscribe. I'm going to try and change the banner because I've had an absolute mare. Hopefully it works. If not, then please ignore it. Neil, you are up first. Who are you going for? Change. Yes, get in.
There we go. Neil, well done, Usman. Thanks for coming.
I've got one thing right. Let's go.
Now I've done some research on this, which is quite unusual for my good self. How long have I got, by the way, to talk about this?
Just put your case forward. The fans are going to vote.
Right, Dennis Law.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that's a bit upsetting for my South African friend Barry. I spoke to my father earlier about this, and we were talking about it. And obviously, my dad saw. Well, not obviously, you don't know that, but my dad saw the Babes quite a lot. So I had someone as a backup from the Babes team. But we both agreed, and I spoke to him about the 3 that I'd picked. Well, I'd actually picked 4 just in case. But I think Dennis Law, 237 goals in 404 appearances for the mighty Manchester United. The original, the King, the only player to have 2 statues at Old Trafford, was part of the fabled Holy Trinity as well, which was some of the greatest times in this club's history. Actually won the Ballon d'Or as well, which not a lot of people realise. And he scored 46 goals in one season once when Manchester United didn't win a trophy. And he scored 46 goals in a season where you can imagine how bad the pitches were. Not the carpets they play on them for the last 20 years and the big heavy boots they used to play and the big heavy balls. He was as brave as a lion. There's no striker that's ever played the game that was as brave as Dennis or braver. He took the lot. We're talking about strikers here, so we're talking about number 9 or number 10.
Yeah, that's right.
My bravest player of all time would be George Best. But as a striker, an out-and-out striker, Dennis Law. Plus, I had dinner with him once because the company I was working for, we booked him as after-dinner speaker. And my boss said, you can sit next to him at dinner. and he's the coolest bloke I've ever met. And he phoned my father to wish him Merry Christmas, which was just
What a legend.
that was just enough for me. That he could have killed me on the way home. And no comments on that one, by the way, please.
I was about to say, I'm not saying anything about it for the start out, man.
And you can absolutely guarantee Dennis loves the club as much today as he did when he pulled the shirt on. And that's the thing with Dennis. He's absolutely, I banged on about Manchester United DNA, a Manchester United player. And if you were picking one of the best squad that Manchester United have ever had, he's in it without a shadow of a doubt. Imagine him playing up front with Eric Cantona. Would have just been unbelievable. That would be my ultimate front two, possibly for United. Just an amazing footballer, an amazing man. I think he's got 7 daughters, so something's gone wrong there. Because you want to be in some with the DNA. So short and sweet, Dennis Law, best striker to ever play for the club.
Dennis Law, straight in there. Neil's not holding back. Of course, absolute legend.
As the actor said to the bishop.
Yeah, and like you said, you've done your bloody research. I'm impressed.
I know. I want to be on this all the time.
You love to see. Well, I'm not going to be on next week the way I've gone. So you can be honest by all means.
Yeah, you might get bladed.
Yeah, I'm definitely not you next week. And it's Barry. We'll come to you. He's gone for Dennis Law. Who are you going for?
Okay. So we're talking about the best striker. So how do you gauge a striker? You gauge him by how many goals he scores, and you gauge him how quickly he scores those goals. So that was a very emotive chat by Neil about Dennis Law. But if you want the hard facts, the greatest striker in the history of Man United is Tommy Taylor. Now, I never got to see Tommy Taylor play. But Tommy Taylor scored 131 goals in 191 games. That means he scored 0.69 goals per game, which, if you look at the statistics, he's the most prolific scorer in the history of Man United. And of course, his life and career were tragically cut short in the Munich air crash, in which he died at the age of 25 or 26, I'm not quite sure. Now, Tommy Taylor was signed from Barnsley, and he was signed for the unusual fee of £29,999. He was signed by Matt Busby, and Busby didn't want to burden him with becoming the first £30,000 player in the history of British football. So he gave £1 to the tea lady that served them at Barnsley, and Taylor didn't have to carry that responsibility. Now, he played for 6 seasons at United, but his 6th season was incomplete because that was the season of the Munich air crash. In the preceding 4 seasons, he scored more than 20 league goals. And remember that 20 league goals in a season is not something that's done often by our players. Yep. And in the season of the Munich air crash, he would have definitely, because he had 16 goals that season. He was prolific for England. He only got to play 19 games for England. He scored 16 goals. And it's said that had the Munich air crash not occurred, the England team of 1958 would have had the likes of Tommy Taylor, Roger Byrne, Duncan Edwards. They would have been favourites to win the World Cup. Now, as a centre forward, and he was the sort of in those days the true centre forward, they say he could head a ball harder than he could kick a ball. If you watch footage from the 1957 FA Cup final, he scores a looping header, a thunderbolt of a header, good with both feet. And as I say, career tragically cut short by the Munich air crash. Bear in mind, in those days, heavy pitches, even heavier than in Dennis Law's day. Tackle from behind wasn't illegal. A lot of rough stuff went on. But he is the most prolific goal scorer that we've ever had. So I feel it's an absolute no-brainer when asking who the top striker is, because the statistics prove it. Tommy Taylor.
Wow, another very iconic player.
Of course, my second choice, Tommy.
Obviously, you guys can debate.
My dad saw him score a hat trick against Villa at Villa Park once. He said he was an unbelievable player. But yeah, can't argue with that, Barry.
Yeah, no, two iconic players. Like you said, obviously, if he wasn't for the crash, he probably would have been an all-time goal scorer, given the fact that he was only at the age of 25.
Never mind Jeff Hurst, it'd have been Tommy Taylor in the World Cup.
Yeah.
That's a good point. It's a good point, Joe. They've set the bar very high.
Yeah,
you know where Joe's going.
You're an absolute shower of bastards, the lot of you. Jesus Christ! All right.
Well, you picked number 10, so
yeah, I know. All right, but look. I have to go with a player, okay? And we're blessed as a club to have so many great players throughout the years to fill those positions. I was thinking Dennis Law, I was thinking the likes of that, but then I was thinking I have to go for a player I've seen, all right, that I've actually been in the witness, and seen his brilliance. And it goes from either throughout the Premier League era, it has to be that. I've been thinking about Mark Hughes all day, Yorkie, Cole, Rooney, Ronaldo. Well, not so much Ronaldo, he's out left more so. And even Ibrahimovic and the likes of Van Persie. Not so much for what they did at United, which was huge, but throughout entire career. But I'm thinking you guess who I'm going to say, because the only person I haven't said yet, and it is Ruud.
Wow.
Yeah, has to be Ruud van Nistelrooy. No matter what your thoughts on him, unfortunately, he came to the club, I think, through pretty much the most barren spell Fergie had throughout his career, outside of the first couple of seasons. So he's only left the club with a Premier League, a League Cup medal, which he got from playing off the bench, and an FA Cup, and I think a Charity Shield. But what he brought to the club, 20-plus goals every season, bar the one season where he was injured, scored against every team. And he never did anything outside of the box. He never even came close to scoring from outside the area. But if you needed a goal at any point, probably as close to maybe Solskjaer coming off the bench as you just know he's going to score a goal, it's going to happen with Van Nistelrooy. And his outside play from outside that, who cares? All right? Because honestly, you just want him to score goals. And whether it was with Holland, United, Real Madrid afterwards, or PSV before, he just did it everywhere, no matter what. And even the year we were supposed to sign him in 2000, 18.5 million. And he obviously his cruciate went, and we didn't get him then. And then the following year, he signed for 500,000 more for 19 million. And after the injury, and we paid more, and he played back with abundance. So many of my favorite memory growing up as a child was seeing him like that. Just his celebration against Arsenal when he scored
after that penalty.
That is up there with the most iconic moments in the most recent Premier League era of United history.
Oh.
So
he said,
if only. Okay.
No, you Irish.
No. What gave it away?
Wow.
But for that reason and that reason alone, I have to put him ahead of Rooney, because Rooney was a far better footballer, but as just a goal scorer and nothing else. I don't even know if Van Nistelrooy ever got an assist, and the quality of goals is just next level. I think for me, Premier League era, definitely, for a player that I've seen and that I admired and I loved as a child, and even looking back on today with great memory, it has to be Van Nistelrooy, 100%, all the way.
Wow, so again, another very strong statement there. So we've gone for Dennis Law, Tommy Taylor, and Ruud van Nistelrooy. There will be a poll on the Twitter page, so you guys can vote. But now, boys, I want to hear from you guys regarding why your player, the person you've picked to represent, is more suitable for the title of United's greatest striker. So, Neil, we'll come back to you, full circle. So you've got it now. Explain why, well, you know the other two players. You've got to explain why you feel your player is better than the other two.
Because he's completely Man United all over. He's massively revered. Part of the Holy Trinity. We're never going to see the likes of the Holy Trinity again.
Yeah.
As good as the Champions League team was from 2008, you're never going to get to those levels. Charlton, Best, Law. It just rolls off the tongue. Everybody knows what you mean. Mm. And he was the original. I know Eric Cantona was King Eric, but no, Dennis is the king of Old Trafford. Always has been, always will be. Completely revered. Run through brick walls for the club, and Tommy Taylor was my second one. I did the stats on him. The only reason I didn't go with Tommy Taylor was just, unfortunately, the longevity. Ruud was on my list because I did pick 4. Yeah. And the same reason, again, I don't like the way Ruud left the club. I thought that was a bit naughty. But Dennis wouldn't have. Dennis was just magnificent. You know, he could have gone anywhere when he wanted to, but he stayed at United. He was devastated he didn't get didn't play in the European Cup side. But also the fact that I've met him, he's just such a nice bloke. You couldn't wish to meet a nicer guy.
Yeah.
And also he hates the Daily Mail, which is a plus for all United fans. If you hate the Daily Mail, so,
I think you might have said it there.
So yeah, it's Dennis. You just say the two words, and it's just synonymous with Manchester United. It's the Dennis Law, Man United. That's it.
Straight to the point, right? Barry, like you said, it's synonymous with Man United, a part of the Holy Trinity. How can you argue with that? But clearly, you've gone for Tommy Taylor. So, what makes him better for you than Dennis Law and Ruud van Nistelrooy?
Right. So again, very emotive stuff from Neil, because Dennis is the
I've had a tough day, Barry.
Sorry?
I've had a tough day, Barry.
You know, but you've asked for who's United's greatest striker. So, you know, whether a guy left under a cloud like Ruud did, or whether Dennis is the nicest guy around, the statistics don't lie. Ruud, in fact, was my second pick because he's very close to Tommy Taylor, very close. Tommy Taylor averaged 0.685 goals per game. Ruud averaged 0.684 goals per game.
Wow.
So very little between the two of them. But we're going for the statistics and the facts. And in fact, if you look at Dennis's goals, Dennis comes third to those two with 0.586 goals per game.
Yeah, but played 400 games, Barry.
He did play 400 games, and as you've mentioned, but you know, Taylor played 191, Van Nistelrooy played 219, so they did play a lot of games. If you want to look at lots of games for the club, Rooney played 559, but Rooney's goal average wasn't nearly as good as those guys. So, you know, I think within reason, I mean, Tommy Taylor, yes, he had 6 seasons there. Ruud had 5 seasons. It's still a reasonable career over there. And as someone has said, we've been blessed by the most wonderful strikers. But I've got to stick with Tommy Taylor. He's the odd one out for the 3 that we've spoken about, because I've had the privilege of meeting Dennis and Ruud, both very nice guys, I thought, but we're not here to talk about nice guys. And Tommy Taylor, unfortunately, had passed away before I was born. But I stick with Tommy Taylor because the stats don't lie. Our most prolific goal scorer ever. But I'm going to add one footnote just from the historic point of view. And that is, nobody has mentioned Jack Rowley, Gunnar Rowley.
God, I wondered what you were going to say then.
The United, he started.
Jack, I'm off.
But Jack Rowley, who played for United on both sides of the Second World War, had his career interrupted for 6 years. So he prospectively could have fitted into this group. But I come back to Tommy Taylor. Statistically, our best goal scorer ever. I stick by him.
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, like you mentioned, the most prolific out of the 3 that have been mentioned. Joe, having listened to what the guys have said, have you had second thoughts? Or are you still confident that for you, Percy, Van Nistelrooy tops both the 2 mentioned prior?
Yeah, look, the lads have put me in an impossible situation, because we look at Dennis Law, like we know he has 2 statues. Tommy Taylor would have the statue if he was fortunate to live. But I think when it comes down to like modern football and everything like that, it just, no matter where Van Nistelrooy played, he scored goals. So United obviously didn't leave under the best circumstances, but if it wasn't for him, United at that time, like, we wouldn't even be fighting for the title, to be honest. Like, we won 1 title in his 5 years, but pretty much any time we were fighting for it was because of his goals. And his goal to game ratio is insane. He was our 2nd all-time Cups goal scorer in the Champions League. European Cup is same. Dennis Law, I think, is 3rd. He took over from Dennis Law. Or Andy Cole, sorry, took over from Andy Cole. Then, yeah, but the only thing that ever kind of held him back, maybe you could say, was his temperament, because that's obviously what got him out of the club. But just for goals and goals alone and the quality of goals, there's no one better, and he did it everywhere. Like that's just it. And like in the modern era of football, it was a different pressure than back then. Like the worrying thing when you're playing back in the, let's say the 50s, probably earlier up until maybe the mid to late 80s, was that you'd get murdered on the pitch. But now, once it got to the Premier League era, it's about being murdered off it. And to handle the pressures of being the main man of Man United with the media and everything that surrounds that, especially in the modern era, and to show up every week, that's why he's it, you know?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with what you say in terms of Van Nistelrooy doing it everywhere he's been. Prolific. He was someone that, you know, kind of made me fall in love with the club. Even, I suppose I've been watching it prior to them, but I think Van Nistelrooy was so influential in everything we had going forward, and obviously had that record prior to Vardy breaking it. Just before we go on to some of the comments from the people in the chat, so Ben Sport, Osman, I've not heard your choice. Obviously, I'll give my choice at the end of the show. I just wanted to talk about a couple of honourable mentions, and I'll pass them on to you guys to obviously talk about, because I'm sure most of you probably think about these players as well, or at least contemplate these players. A lot of people in the chat are saying Andy Cole. So we'll come to you first, Joe, actually. So I know you did mention him prior. What are your thoughts on Andy Cole? What was the reason for you leaving him out? Because he was unbelievably good, wasn't he?
I don't rate him as highly as I do other strikers, for the main reason that he was a 1 in every 5 shot sort of goal scorer. He was, you know, he had a fantastic record at Newcastle, fantastic record at United. I don't take away everything he did for us, especially during the treble season when he was partnered with Dwight York. But I think overall, his just shots to goal ratio wasn't good enough. And you have to wonder why the third all-time top goal scorer in the Premier League only has 13 England caps and 1 goal against Andorra, if I remember correctly. If you're that good, you should be playing for your country. And you have to wonder why so many people got ahead of him. I think he was excellent with Dwight York, especially for that season. Yeah. But I don't think he was ever the top goal scorer in the Premier League, was he? Or maybe with Newcastle.
I can't think of top of my head. I don't know if one of the lads might be able to pull out a figure, but I know Dwight York beat him in the 99 season, although everyone thinks Andy Cole had a bet. So
they had 18 each, didn't they? York and Cole had 18 each. I thought Solskjaer. Maybe it's all
all comps. I know Dwight York had more than 99. I don't know if one of the lads might have got the stats in front of him. So we'll come to you, Neil. Is there anybody else that has an honourable mention before we come to you, Barry? Because again, just before we actually pass it to you, we have actually got the percentages from the poll so far from the 3 that you mentioned. So currently in 3rd place with 5% of the vote is Tommy Taylor. In 2nd place is Dennis Lowe with 24%, and in 1st place in 3rd place is Dennis Lowe. In 2nd place is actually Rooney at the moment. That none of you have actually mentioned. And in 1st place is Ruud van Nistelrooy with 64%. So at the moment, as it stands, Ruud van Nistelrooy running away with it. We'll come to you, Neil, regarding anybody else in
the 30s.
Well, I don't know about the age demographic, sadly.
Obviously, no, I know that. If we did one for the over 30s, that would be completely different.
Yeah, well,
I'm 30.
I'll speak to Ben if you can.
I am 30. All right.
But you did say over 30s, but we don't quite.
I'm 30 and a half.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Adrian Mole. Doing the Adrian Mole thing there.
And Neil talk to me about Wayne Rooney, because a lot of the fans in the chat mentioned Rooney's name, and no one's really spoken about him.
I put Rooney down. He was one of my 4. It's hard to dispute that Rooney's you can make a case for any of the ones that we've said. And the big thing Rooney got on his side, which was longevity. And the consistency was unbelievable. And the amount of important goals he scored, the amount of times he carried the team, the amount of work he did. I mean, you've never, strikers work hard, and he was as hard working as pretty much any striker I've ever seen. And weirdly, when I was looking at his stats, he's only had 3 red cards in his career, which I was absolutely stunned at that. I mean, they're chuffing dozens of yellow cards. Yeah. But Rooney played in different positions. He played as a 9. He's played as a 10. He's played as an 8. But he played as a wide left. He did so much for the sake of the team. And I know there's people out there that still don't like him, and I, for the life of God, don't understand why. But he did so much. My other honourable mention, and this obviously, I think Barry might go, yeah, that's a good shout. It's Brian McClare.
Yeah.
because when Fergie took over, Brian was one of his first signings. Oh, Brian, I'm talking like a bloody know him. Brian McClare was one of his first signings, and he scored some. Wasn't he the first striker since Best to score 20 in a season? And he's and he's just scored some great, some such important goals, and plenty of them as well. So Brian McClare would get a mention, and clearly Eric, because it was Eric.
Yeah, I thought to be fair, some of you would mention King Eric. Actually, obviously, he wasn't there long enough. I suppose that's probably the only thing that you put against.
Well, that's the reason I didn't go with Van Nistelrooy. So longevity I was looking for, and unfortunately, the Tommy Taylor one I wrote down and Barry's right. You look at the stats for Tommy Taylor, absolutely incredible. Billy Medrith from going back even before the war. Things like that. The sort of stats around those and the different pitches. We have no idea about the pitches that they used to play on. They're like a played field. Yeah. So, it'd be an interesting poll, seriously. If you got the over 35s, say who's the best striker, I think it would be different because, a lot of players didn't see these guys. It's just YouTube footage. And YouTube's great because we're on it.
Speaking of which, make sure you subscribe. Yes, go ahead.
Subscribe.
Yeah. Can I just ask the lads, first of all, on the Rooney one, I think Rooney's problem was he was just too good as a footballer, that he was made to play every position. That takes away from his quality as a striker alone, but he was just too good of a footballer. He played everywhere. But I want to know, what are the lads' thoughts on Sparky, Mark Hughes? Because a little bit before my time, but obviously he was... Yeah, but he seems to be forgotten. It's because he's a terrible manager that we just forget about him as a footballer. Because
he couldn't manage it, didn't he?
He couldn't manage to run. He's just terrible. But that's not the point. But Hughes, scored some amazing goals and some massively important goals. The Oldham, the semi-final goal, those sort of goals, huge goals and big part in Fergie staying there. But I just don't think there's the volume of goals. Going on to Barry's point, when you look at the stats, just not enough at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Barry, coming on.
Can I add, please?
Yeah, I was about to say, coming on to
Firstly, I have to say I'm absolutely gutted that I'm sitting last in the poll. Absolutely gutted. And I have to agree with Neil because I think that
here we go.
Most of the people that have voted are probably younger viewers.
Barry, you can't blame. It's like Brexit. You can't blame the youth, okay?
Yeah, well, speaking about some of these other players, firstly, Mark Hughes, the old cliche, scorer of great goals, but not a great goal scorer. Yeah. But his finest asset was playing with his back to goal. He held up the ball better than any striker I've seen at United, and he really was an awesome player. So worth a mention, but never got 20 goals in a season. League goals. Neil's right about Brian McClare. McClare was the first player to score 20 league goals in a season after George Best. George Best in 1968 was the last time he did it. 20 years later, McClare did that. But then, of course, McClare got converted more into a midfield player. Andy Cole, very prolific at Newcastle. Cole and York, a fantastic combination up front for United. In the treble-winning season, between them 53 goals, of which York got 29, Cole 24. So, but I don't know that you can rank him the same as these guys. Wayne Rooney, really very much an all-round player because Rooney often sacrificed himself for the benefit of the team. He'd often be played wide. He'd be played in a number 10 role. Tremendous longevity. So I guess that counts. But I come back to the fact we were asked who is our best striker. You've got to go on the statistics. Another honourable mention that I would give, also our younger viewers will probably not be aware, David Hurd played at the same time as the Holy Trinity, 145 goals in 265 games.
Wow.
So almost as prolific as Dennis Law. So, a lot of other guys worth a mention. And then, of course, one season, one particular season, if you look at one season, Ronaldo's season of scoring 42 goals Robin van Persie's season of scoring 30 goals. These are all, great achievements by these various players.
Yeah, no, you first and foremost regarding the vote, I do agree with you guys. Actually, I do think if it was an elder demographic, then the likes of Dennis Law in particular,
Dennis would walk it.
I think Dennis. I personally,
Bobby Taylor would walk it.
I'm just happy I'm winning and you're all jealous. Okay.
Joe,
by the way,
I'm not saying Joe's the youngest, but we need to hurry up because Joe needs his milk time.
The winner, Joe, the winner treats the losers to a beer at his local pub, but he has to pay their travelling fees as well.
Okay, vote for Tommy Taylor, everyone.
Yeah, because we want a trip to South Africa, to be fair. So Tommy Taylor, right now, I'll vote for. I might just quickly log out and vote for him as well.
I'm going to make you regret that, Barry.
I know. I just got one more question for you guys to finish on. Just a bit of fun, and I'll go through all of you. So if you can take one of these players, it doesn't have to be someone that we mentioned, any striker from my history, and bring him to the present day, who would you take and why? So, for example, it could be any of the people that we mentioned, or even somebody else, or maybe a Rooney, I don't know, for his sort of, what's the word, his ability to play in multiple positions. Neil, we'll start with you. Who would you take, or who would you bring back to the current day? Obviously, not at a current age, in their prime, so to speak, and why?
Based on what we need, when you look at the present squad, Tommy Taylor.
Oh, Barry's gone for your player.
No, based on what this squad needs, Tommy Taylor. We need a big set. You look at the picture of Tommy Taylor, he's huge, country strong, as they would say. Massive, big guy, and based on what we need, he's someone to play down the middle. Tommy Taylor. We don't need a Dennis Law type player. We've got those. We've sort of got, the game's slightly different now. 4-3-3. But if you have Tommy Taylor as your spearhead, my word, we take some stopping.
Unbelievable striker. Joe, are you sticking with Van Nistelrooy, or are you going for someone else? It could be anyone. No, it doesn't have to be someone you mentioned.
Anyone to keep the boys happy and my dad happy, who will be watching it soon. Robbo, Brian Robson.
He's not a striker.
No, it doesn't have to be a striker. You said any position, didn't you?
No, I said greatest striker. Obviously, for the topic.
I thought you meant. Okay, fine.
Saturday night.
All right. Look, this is my fifth one of these. All right. I'm gonna go Cantona. Bit of flair, a bit of class, bit of everything. But you weren't clear on exactly the position, okay? I thought you meant anyone.
Watch
your back.
Okay, fine. All right.
Watch your back later. It's fine. So I'm on a man, but I can't say anything. Right? He's gone for he's gone for King Eric. Imagine King Eric right now in this team. I think, to be fair with the youngsters we've got, he would be very influential. Who are you going for, Barry? Any of the players that they mentioned? You sticking to your own? Or you going for
I stick by my choice, Tommy Taylor, and I like the explanation that Neil gave, because we need somebody big and strong up front and somebody good in the air. So I would go with Tommy Taylor. If he declared himself unavailable, I'd take Rude.
If he declared himself unavailable. Oh, God, I absolutely love that. Right, okay, so that is the end of the show. Just want to say a massive thank you. And basically, Barry and Neil don't care if Tommy Taylor's got 4%. He's still making a return to the team. Let us know who you bring back. Also, let us know who you think is the greatest striker to ever play in the famous kit. Obviously, no one mentioned Jack Grealish this show, so we've done fantastic. Well, apart from obviously now. Anyways, as always,
Jack Grealish.
We're gonna have a midfield edition as well, so I'm assuming you might get a shout out on that one. Him or Fellaini will be tight. Anyways, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Getting very close to 1,000. We do appreciate all the support and love. And make sure you show love to the boys on their social medias. And apart from that, it's been your host, Osman Akhtar. Peace. Fantastic. Well done, boys. Class show.
Love that.
You'll never guess